So what we're going to see today is pipeline. So uh, basically pipelines help you combine a series of commandlets, like passing one set of commandlets and its values to another. So let's say you have a command A which has some sort of results which can be passed down to command B, and then which further uses that property to look up some other commandlet, and that in turn gives you results that you can use with command 3 on your lookup and things like that. So I'll give you a sample. Get if and process.
Mm-hmm.
Let's first see what's in a process. And like SQL, you can use select and then mention the properties that you want from that specific commandlet. So for now, star means a wildcard. It will get you all the properties, all the member properties, and you can use if you know the name of the property, you can define it, and then it will only get those two properties out of that command. But for now, let's use star. Star means file cut, so you'll get all the properties of the FN process commandlet. Okay, sure. Yeah. So now this is a lot, right? Usually commandlets doesn't have to have just two properties or three properties, or it could have like 100 objects, and then each having 100 different properties will just blow up your screen. But you want to just look up one specific object and see what are all the basic properties, and then you can later use that to sort of fine tune your script or whatever you're looking for, like that, right? So to do that, select as an object hyphen first one. If I mention select if an object and then hyphen first, what it will do is get me the first object on that command. Let's say you run that specific command. It will give you about 100 different uh, under different members of it. Okay, the first member, or the first, let's say you're looking up a SQL table, the first row, or the first uh, what do you call it? The first cell of the table
Mm-hmm.
is what you're looking for. You mentioned hyphen first one. Likewise, you can also use the switch hyphen last, and you can select yeah, instead of using select hyphen object and then specifying the properties, you can also use hyphen property and then mention the properties, like the property identity, column header, and things like that. uh, okay, I'll just show you how first looks like. First one, and then I'll use this guy, last one. Okay, so this is how you go from the top or from the bottom to see to reduce your results and then pick any specific property that you want. So this is all. These are all the properties. Okay. See, even with one, just selecting one of it, one of the process, we see this many properties choked to it. Yeah, we don't need everything. We'll most times we'll be looking at uh, uh, about 4 or 5 properties of that specific commandlet. Of so let's say let's pick something that we need, not noun name. Okay, let's take memory as an example. Okay, I think this is overlapping. Just give me a sec. Yep, now it's good. Okay. Name, let's select name, ID, paged memory size for now. Technology, ID, memory size. Okay. If you see here, it returned nothing in memory size, because if you mention a property that is not valid, that is not present in this commandlet at all, it'll still give you that column name, but it won't give you anything because you couldn't look up that specific property in this. So you'll have to get the exact paged memory size, right? So now if I mention page memory size, it gives me the uh, uh, that specific property. And let's say there's about under different memory sizes in the command that you're looking for. So how do you get that without defining each one separately? So when you mention wildcard before and after memory size, what it basically means is it could be anything like paged memory size. This star will substitute this paged. So what happens is wildcard and then memory size, and on wildcard basically means that specific property should include the string match memory size, and then anything can precede that or come after that. So basically, it could be memory size buffer, it could be page memory size to give you as a sample. But let's see what happens. See this?
Okay.
Basically, anything can supersede or succeed the keyword that you're giving. So if you see here, 64 comes after memory size and
Mm-hmm.
paged comes before that. So that's how you select properties with wildcards. If you just do a wildcard, it'll give you everything. But if you give a specific character and then or a specific string and then the wildcard, will give you just that. So, like you see here, here I've used two pipes. The first pipe, what it does is get all the processes and then pass it to this specific filter. What it does, it will
Mm-hmm.
select the first object, I mean the last object for this instance, and then it will then pass down whatever it's got to this part of the commandlet. And what this does is select just these three properties. I mean, not three, so these two properties and a wildcard property which matches with this many properties. I'm not sure how many. Those are three. Okay, I'll show you how to get the count. This will be handy for you. So uh, process properties will be a variable name. So this is how you define a variable. And then if I do that, so what happens now is whatever you saw in the screen, these get
Mm-hmm.
stored in dollar process properties, which will be a variable. So let's to see what type of a what type that variable is, you can use dot get type. So if you see here, it says a custom object because you just defined it and it's not an array, a string, or any of the default data types. Okay, so it's a custom data type. So process property. So if you want to see what's in the variable that you just declared, you can do that. And if you want to see how many properties it actually holds, so basically count is okay. Okay, each properties, or let's say I want to select a specific. So if you do process property, you declare the variable, right? And if you want to look up only, you can do this. Like I save everything in a specific variable, I export it, but I don't want everything to move my script forward. I just want them to report. So what I'll do is I'll create a variable name, I'll export them. But later in the script, I might need just one member of whatever variable that I created to move my script further, to move my automation further. And
Mm-hmm.
at most times you'll use ID as a parameter. And let's say you want to send a mail message and but you want to select a file. The file name would be apt in that scenario. So you'll basically go to a specific directory, try and get a specific file and then attach it. And here, let's say we have a script wherein to look all the processes, and if it's a specific process is having too much memory, it's utilizing too much memory. Let's say we trigger a event when it will send us a notification. And to do that, let's say this process that we saved here is such process. It has too much memory hogging, like it's doing sort of a memory hog, and that's slowing your machine or your server. And in that case, I'll need just the ID to send to be sent as an email, as an warning to the server intra team. So basically, you'll send them the ID, and then they'll take a look at the ID and see what the respective processes and end it or troubleshoot it and things like that. And in those cases, you don't need everything to show up on their reports and things like that. So you can select specific properties even after getting everything else. This is how you do it. If you're doing just one property, you can do this dot and then the property name. But if you're selecting multiple properties, then yeah, the select an object and then name from ID. So this gives you both the properties. Okay, and then you can attach it to an email or just write it as a body and send it over to them.
Okay. So you said you can show me how I can do a count of the properties.
Yeah.
How I
Okay.
can actually do.
So count how it actually happens is, so move a little further. So I'll create an array. So for you to get a count, you have to actually have a sort of a collection. If there is a collection, you can see how many. One sec. Let's see. I think process will be a collection.
Mm-hmm.
Processes. Hyphen process. And always try and tab things through if you do not know the exact command line, like how I did here. Get FN Pro and then F8
Mm-hmm.
tab, it will keep giving me commandlets that have that. Let's see what type this is. Okay, yeah, it's an array. So basically, you can get count. So what count means here is it will give you the number of processes that is at least open on your machine now. So if I just do dot count, it gives me 213. That's the number of processes that is actually running on this machine right now. If I do get FN process and select, is there a, let's see if there's a status where it gives us if the uh, let's see. It's a name, ID, handle. Okay, there is no process, no problem. You can do get service for that matter. So remember, get service is another Windows native commandlet which will get all the services that is currently running on your server. So let's say you install SQL on your machine, SQL Server, it will have a SQL services there. You can use get service to look up any specific process, I mean any specific service, see what the status is and if it's running fine and things like that, and do your automations. I'll show you a sample on how this looks like. The first five. So this basically gives me first five services. Let's see if this more properties than it. Okay, yeah, that's more properties there. So here we can use the status. Okay, yeah, service. So if you're going to use a count without a without saving it to a variable, you can use dot count. Yeah. So there's about what's that 801 services running on this mission. It's not a lot. If you are on a server, it can be even a lot more because Microsoft decided they'll they'll create each service for their own offerings and things like that. So let's see how we can take this to a variable services and then do get service and what can do with services is we can do account here and we can do this services where hyphen object. So I'm basically filtering this
Mm-hmm.
to see the services where the status do equal to see running. So basically what this means is we want to look at the services in this machine and then the filter that I'm doing is where the status of the service should be running. So I want to get the count of how many services are running in this machine. I want to see the count of the running services, which is give me a sec. Running services. I define my variable name here. Okay, and then dollar running services dot count There's about 97 services out of the, what's that, 801? Give me a sec. Screen is not complete. Yeah, 301, sorry. There's about 97 out of 301 that's currently running. So basically, if the SQL service stops, so what you can do is, let's pick a service name. Let's pick the app ID SVC. Instead of status, we'll do a lookup on name. Okay. So now when running services, we should have just the service name, app ID SVC, and it will give us the properties of it. And chat gives everything. So we are able to see that it is stopped. So
Um,
yeah, go on.
I can see there you add a red,
Yeah,
I think so it's a
yeah. This
C.
control C. Yeah, it's because I tried to copy and paste things and it didn't paste it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. If I control C, what happens is let me tell you this. Dollar. This is my test. Whatever. And then if I hit Control C, it'll just
Mhm.
escape it out of that line without
Makes
clearing it.
sense.
But there is a way to clear this, whatever you type in your screen. It is to select escape. As soon as I hit escape, it will go off. But I'm used to hitting Control C's. But yeah, things that's how it is. If you want to clear whatever you've typed on your screen, just hit escape and it will go. Or Control C, it will go to the next line without executing that line. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we've covered processes, I mean pipelines. So scripts, okay. Output and script block, okay. Okay, I'll give you a basic script. Okay, let's create one basic script. Just give me a second. Mm, Partial ISC set. Okay, okay, it opened up. Yeah. Mm, it's not yet. Okay, no problem. We'll create a new script. We can close these out. I want to see those. Okay, so this is Windows Partial ISC. So it is one of the uh, ID of editor which comes by default. It will be present even in your base machine. It doesn't have to be a server. Any Windows machine will have Windows ISC. Okay, so you can use it to look up all the command lists that you want. You have the command line here. You can, if you want to test something, test different file paths and things like that, and you can write your scripts here and then save them and things like that. So it will also give you as you type. It will also suggest you as you write your command lines. It will help you out instead of writing it in a text file. People do that instead of using an ID, and ID sort of helps you a lot because let's say I wanted to send a mail message. See, it basically suggests me the commandlet and then shows me the properties of the commandlet. So basically, if I want to use send hyphen mail message, I can look up the properties and the types, data types I want to pass to that specific property level. Let's go send hyphen mail message one second. You see this? So the subject should be a string, the body should be a string, the SNTP is a string. So what are the property types that is looking for? Okay, the credential will be a PS credential. I'll teach you stuff, what's a PS credential, data type, and those things later. For now, let's just create a sample script. Let me create one. Okay, so we'll make use of the command list that we've seen till now. So write if host this simple script that we had created. So there are different ways to use write-if notes. You don't have to just use this method. You can also define the string here, the string, and then or what we want to type out, and then use write-if notes. What will basically do both these does the same task. So okay, I'll execute this to show you what happens. So this run-hyphen selection, what it does is whatever you selected, it will only run those lines. Okay, whatever it's highlighted. So I'm running that. So it gave me that specific output. If I run this, gives me the same. It's just that I've changed this. If I haven't changed this, it will basically just give me this. Okay, you're able to see the screen is right. Let me expand
Yes.
this. So if you see, right if an host with this basically gave me the same result as this, and then right if an host. So there's not always, but there are a certain commandlets that do um, work via different methods. Like you don't have to just stick to one method. And how we use, okay, let's write a sample. So services equals here hyphen service. Okay, so let's pick a service for now. Let's pick a service that's running so that we can stop and then we can use it later. Not these guys. Let's see if we can pick a dummy service. Hyphen services. So hyphen last one. Service is the name. That's why it threw me an error. Does say the term get hyphen service is not recognized because that's not a valid command line. So select hyphen object, you don't have to actually use select hyphen object to select the properties. You can also just use select. But when you're writing scripts, it's always better to not shorthand things like get commandlets and select if an object, where if an object, you can give the complete name so that when you're working with multiple people, and it will help you a lot. And some members of your teams might not know that select and select if an object is same, GC and get if and content is same. So it's better to abbreviate things like give them in their full length format instead of shorthanding them. Okay. Select action object hyphen last 5. So let's select an Xbox service. You can basically start it and stop it and shouldn't matter. So we took that service, right? Well, let's create a script here. Uh, this is the name of the service. Define that service name. So basically what I define this string, uh, uh, XPL game save is the Xbox service name. I've assigned it a variable so that we can use that later to look up dollar services. So what it does is, what we're going to do now is look up services. So where if an object, like it said, you don't have to actually use where if an object, you can use this as well. The question mark basically means the same. Where if an object or question mark or where does the same task, but it's better to use where if an object. And then you look up the property called name. So you see why I suggested IDE. It basically gives shows you what are the properties of the command that you're running, or as you type the commandlet itself, it will suggest you or what commandlets it could be, and then you can just tab your way through it. And then we're looking for, so these are the operators that you can use. at least for this property. Since it's not an integer, there might be a limited set of operators that you use, but doesn't matter. So instead of this, so basically we've seen samples where we use the string as a filter value and then look up dollar services. But here what we're going to do is we can use the variable that we just defined, the service name. Uh, the service name basically holds the service name in it. We just declared that here. Okay. If an object service name. So what we'll do is select it service. I'm creating a sample script because this will serve as a reference when we're creating scripts later. So basically, I'm covering pipelines and scripts and script blocks here. So this will be a script block. So when you're writing a script, it's better to define what the script block is for. When you're, as you go on and write scripts, there can be hundreds of lines, and you don't want to make it without any comment or whatsoever. And if you do that, even when you're looking at it later at one point of time, let's say you create a script now for any specific purpose, and you're looking there is some issue with the script, and you're looking back at it in about a month, 6 months, you might not know what actually went on there without commenting it out exactly what that script block does. So basically, these are the script blocks. So here, so I'll just mention select check for Xbox service and start if stopped. Okay, service name. So basically selected service will contain the Xbox service now. So now we're going to check the status of the service. Okay. So to do that, we can do selected service and then look up the property called, if you recall, the property was called status and it should show up here as well. Yeah, if you're able to see it. Uh, Instead of where we need to actually select because we need to see if the process is running or not. Select hyphen object and then the status. And then we'll print that out. The Xbox gaming service is, and then the status. I'll show them if it's running or not. We'll save it. So do you have any questions on the script that we just created?
No,
No, okay.
I'm getting it. It's pretty much similar to the SQL queries
Yeah,
actually.
we close it to that. I just created a folder here. Here, so when you're saving that file, you're saving the script, you can Xbox service. You can basically select the file type here in the ID. So it can be PS1, like I said, this is the PS module file. If you recall, I told you earlier, there can be PS1, PSD1, PSM1, and things like that. So yeah, so we'll just create it as a partial script file, okay, and save it with the name Xbox service. So if we run it, what we can expect is that it prints the status of the service the status of the Xbox service. Okay, let's just run the script. So we've written something, right? So it gives us a star because it is not saved. There are changes to this script that we made after the save. So that is what the star means. You have to save it for it to commit to that file, and then later we can just hit play. Play runs the entire script as opposed to the run selection where you select the lines and then you run it.
Mhm.
So basically it says Xbox gaming service is at the rate status equals dot. Why it does that is because if you look up the variable dollar status, so it has so it actually is a property within a property. So there is a status variable. It has a so it has a property header called status, and then the property value stop. Okay, what we need to do here is do dollar status dot status. That basically expands or looks at that specific property within that variable. So here dollar status is a variable, but dollar status is a property of that variable. That's the difference. Okay, are you able to follow me?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, sure, sure. So what we will do is here select hyphen object, expand property. So instead of a dot, you can do this, select hyphen object and then expand property and then the property name. So now I'll commit the changes and then I'll execute the file. Here it says the Xbox gaming service is stopped because here we did this. What we did is we sort of expanded the property name and saved it on status and then printed it out. And because it is just a string, it just gave us a string, but here it is not a string. It's a partial object, custom object. So it gave us that. Yeah. You're able to follow the differences here, right? The difference between this execution and this execution. Let me know if the font is too small. I'll just say increase the size.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sure. No problem. No problem. Okay, we covered script. I'll put in script. Okay, sure. So basically, this is how you do scripts, and each script block, I would suggest you to comment whatever is going to be done on that block. It doesn't have to be like 5 or 10 lines of what you're doing in each line, but you can just state what that script block is going to do. Sends email message if service is stopped and things like that, so that you know what it does. And then you can when you're having issues with that script, you can go to that specific blog to see what is actually happening and then troubleshoot it later. So that is what is helpful when you're doing script blocks and when you're giving it good comments. So init or initialization basically means whatever you want the script to run. So it could have things like now my credentials. You can read credentials here from whatever service that you want. Let's say Azure Vault and things like that. Get I think AZ service credential. I think that's the commandlet, but it totally depends. You have to get the module, or you can use get-credential. Get-credential is what it does is it is a native commandlet which it will prompt you for username and password. Run this. You see this? I just
Mhm.
ran get-credential. It is asking me for a username and password. Basically, what it does is whatever you define here, it'll save it $2 credentials because I've defined it here, and then use it uh, as username and password for whatever service that we're connecting to, or let's say you want to send email message. Not everyone just allows your IP. Some people would require you to authenticate, and for you to authenticate, you have to use credentials and things like that. And that's where this commandlet will be handy and will be helpful. So basically, save those credentials in a variable and then pass it for whatever service that we're connecting to. And for example, let's just say connect hyphen service and the service name here, and then the credentials will be the one that we save. So I don't have a sample command now where I can use get credential, but that's how it is. That's how you use get credential, and that's where you define the initialization part should have the variable names there, and then let's say we want to save the log files on a specific path. So log path, no log file path. equals, and then we can give a property called logs. So basically, this will look into this directory for saving logs. Okay. Things like that. If you want to define anything, that will be true for your entire script. So credentials and paths and let's say variables. You want to send email messages, right? You want your from address, your to address defined earlier. I mean at the start of your script, so it will be your from email address, and then for email address you can define the property type. So this means typecasting. Okay, I'll tell you what it is later. So sample @domain.com can be your email, and things like that should be on your initialization. So typecast, I'll show you what typecast is. So 7 is a string, is a integer, right? So if I save 7 in a variable my sample, so basically the data type is, it's an integer, okay. But if you want to cast it to a string, then this should work, yeah. And then if you look up my sample dog get hyphen type, it's a string. That's what typecast is. That's what I tried to do here. When you do stuff like this, the data type should exactly match when you passing data types to commandlets. It will look for a specific data type and things like that. That's why I suggested you this when you did send hyphen mail message. Uh, it gives you this. So here the to address is a string, so it's not, it doesn't matter. The from address is a string, so it doesn't matter. But if it's not a string, there are different property types. If it's a email address property type, you have to make it such. And to make it such, you can cast it. Basically casting is this. So to any type, to let's say I want to convert this to an integer, I can do int and things
Mhm.
like that. Yeah,
Makes
and
sense.
string.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense. So that is what typecast means. Variables and data types. Okay. What other data types can I? Okay, okay. Let's define a collection here.
I have a
Sample.
question for you for the
Yeah.
log file path.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a log, and after that, where you need to add the path actually.
Okay.
For example, if you have in your local drive, you have some share folder or share drive. So where you need actually paste your path in this
Okay.
command line.
Okay. No problem. I'll leave a sample. So let's say for an example, uh, compound slash C drive users and admin and logs is the path of the. So what this basically means is on this specific, you mentioned file sharers, right? So
Mm,
let's say a file is shared or a folder is shared between the computer one, the compound,
mm,
and this machine on this server. Okay, so to access a shared path on a specific server, what you do is this. This is the syntax. You do double backslashes and then the server name and then the slash the file path. And then, so this is how the syntax is basically
makes sense. Okay.
server name and then file path here. So what it basically means is that it will look up that specific directory. And then if it's accessible, it will be able to retrieve files from the directory and write files to the directory. And the file creation, what you will do is, as you run, go to your script blocks, you'll make use of this insert is selected. Okay. make use of the log file path to create your file name. So let's file name equals, so basically log file path plus your whatever you want to name your log here. Let's say services log. So what? Let's say I want to create a CSV file. So what this basically means is I'm creating a variable called file name, which will basically comprise the full name of the log file that I'm going to create. So it will get the file share path here, and then it will create the file name services log.csv. And what plus basically means is it will create a file called services log.csv here. So if you look up that path, it should be created, and it won't be created just because you call this variable name. Let's say we have services, we are going to export services using export-csv command. Let the file path, the path will be the, let's name this variable a little better, file name path here. So basically, what it does is we are getting all the services, right? We are saving the services, whatever the status is. We just saving all the properties of the services into a CSV file in this path. So basically, in this file share, we'll create a file named services log.csv and save the results of the command at get-service in this file. Okay, that's what this does, and that's how you make use of the file path that you declare in the initialization there. So unless you create a unique file name, it will not match. Or let's say there's a file name is already there and you're trying to write, it will throw you an error. And if the file is logged, it will throw you an error. And if it's not logged, it will rewrite the file, and then things like that. So you have to handle things carefully there. You can do test hyphen path that I mean file listing, test hyphen file is it? No, test hyphen path, yeah. The test hyphen path command that I showed you earlier to see if uh, f- uh, that file already exists. To do that, you can do test hyphen path and then file name path. Yeah. Basically, what it does is if you do this, it will see if before you export this CSV file, if the file is already there, and if it's already there, it will give you a true or false. If you recall, that day we did that, and it gave us true or false if the file is found or if the file is not found. I'll just run this here. One sec.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm running specific lines of code. Basically, I'm defining the log file name here. So I got log file path here, and then the file name path. So this is what I created right now. I created a string where it'll have the file share name and then the file name. So I can use it to test if the file is there or export a new file in that name in that path. Okay, test hyphen path. This is the logic behind why we are doing this is to handle scripts and the exports from a script efficiently. We're checking if the file is already there, and if it's there, we can then use a if condition to proceed and create a new file name. And if not, we can just create you seeing where I'm going with this, right? To see if the file already exists and to not overwrite it. Here it gave me false because there's no actual file share. But if the
Mhm.
file share is there and if there's a file match, it will give me a true. And then with true, what we can do is rename our file name to something else to basically have a different string. So instead of file name
Okay.
path, we can do file name path plus new, and basically it will give us a new file name path, and we can use it to create a new file and things like that. So yeah, you have any questions till now?
No, I'm good. So we can add like the dates
Mm,
as well, like the
yep, totally.
like if we want to get like CSV file instead of
Uh-huh.
new, we want to give today date. And
Mm-hmm.
when the next tomorrow is happening, like the file is executing, we want to give the we want to give the date when the file is executing. So do we
Yes.
need a get date type of is there any
Yep.
function for
Yep.
the get
Yeah.
date type?
There's a get date. Actually, just get F and date. There's a command that will give you the current date. So you
Oh, okay,
could
okay.
see that it's in a different format, but you can use hyphen, I think, format to use dd thing should work. Yeah. So it basically gives me in the format that I'm requesting it for. Like I can use this.
Makes
So
sense. Okay.
basically, get F and date is a command line, and hyphen format is a switch. It actually gets things on the format that you're looking for. So we can use this to name a file, and then things like that. Actually, here defines minutes. So if you want to get months, you have to use that, and year you have to use that. So date is 26, and the month is 9, and the year is 22. Like this, you can also get the time. So for time, I think hours, and then minutes, and then
So like instead of new, if I want to add the date,
mhm.
I need to use this formula over there, like get.
Yeah, yep, you're right. I think it's because yeah, I have to mention everything in the same line. You see this? Uh, IY, MM. So basically here DD means the date as 2 digits, and this is months, and this is year, and this is hours, this is minutes, and this is seconds. I can use this different formats. I can use a slash. I can use whatever format that you need. You can use that, and it will just give you. Okay. So this command let will be helpful for you a lot. Get hyphen date. You can also, instead of getting the current date, you can add things to it. Let's say hyphen date home. Let's say I want to look up a date that is 10 days from now. Okay, you can make
Mhm.
use of add days and then plus 10. What it actually does is gets the current date, adds 10 more dates to it, and then give you the resultant date. So 10 days from now is October 6th, and you can also look back. You can do a minus 10, look back, and then 10 days before is September 16, and things like that. You can make do this and then export in whatever format you want, and basically use things like that. It'll be helpful if you're looking for a date. You need to get a specific date
Mhm.
from whenever your script is executing. Let's say on first of each month, your script needs about a week's worth of log. So it'll be, what you will do is basically use getf and date, and then dot add days minus 7 to look up a week previous from the date whenever the script is executing, to look up all the logs. And then let's say you want to pick all the errors and then export it to a CSV, attach it to an email, and things like that. Yeah, but yeah, that's one of the implementation of getf and date. But make note of it, because this will help you a lot. Like you're going to
Mhm.
need this. Okay, so that's it for the session. I want to give you something. Okay, I want to get a service name. Get 5 service, and then filter them by running status. Show me the service name and status. So are you able to read my screen? So I want you to
Yes.
now just get at least get about 5 services, filter them to see if they're running, and then once you find out they're running, print the running services name and the status. You can do that. I'll help you out if you're not able to, but I want you to just try it. Share your screen and try it.
Okay.
Let me make you a presenter. Just give me a sec.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So the first is to get the service, no?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. No, no, no. Get service.
Okay. So just read through it. So it says the term get services is not recognized. Okay. So
Mhm.
no problem. On the ID itself, or on the command line itself, do get hyphen yes, and then hit tab. Get hyphen.
Get
No,
right.
just type it.
Okay.
Get hyphen yes. Type yes. So these many commandlets are there. We need services. We know the next line. Yeah. So get hyphen
Mm.
service. Yeah. That's the commandlet. Okay. So you got all the services, but just take a look at your chat and paste it in a notepad, or just paste it on
Mhm.
this current untitled.ps1 so that we can go to chat. No, no, the meeting
Yeah.
chat. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So get a list of five. Okay, list of
Just
five.
copy
Okay.
it so that you can refer
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all the services, but we need to just get a list of 5. So
No, don't need this one.
yeah.
Okay, so first,
So you need just 5. So yeah, yeah, you're right.
okay, and then they where where oh no.
Hit tab instead of enter. Yeah, no problem. It's okay to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Just hit tab arrow if you want to. No, you can hit tab arrow to get to the same line that you got earlier. No, hit up. No, hit escape. Hit
Okay.
escape. Now hit up arrow once. Okay. Yeah. So if you
Oh,
keep hitting up arrow to get all the lines that you
mm,
previously created and then edit them. Yeah.
let's
Not
check.
yet. You're right.
Hmm. Some dollar sign dot no dollar sign dot no some
Yes, keep trying. So it's first, where if an object, the
mm,
filter should be encompassed within curly braces. Remember that. So you have to just
mm,
give the curly braces first and then, yeah, curly. Yeah. Okay. So instead of
mm-hmm.
dollar dot, it should be dollar underscore dot. You were there. Dollar underscore
Dollar underscore
dot.
dot
And then the property.
mm-hmm.
So
Service name and status. Hmm.
so
Where
remember we are filtering it by the status, if seeing if it's running or not. And we know it's under the
mm-hmm.
property status. Just scroll down to see the the properties, and then there will be status there. Yeah.
Status. Okay.
Then you,
Okay.
you you
And
want to see if it's running.
Yeah, that's the thing we need to run actually. Um, and we need list 5
Mm-hmm.
as well,
Yeah,
no?
list 5. We'll do this filter and then we can go to list 5 later. No.
List
Just
5. No?
no, that's wrong. Just remove that. Whatever you type. Yeah.
Okay.
First, what we'll do, we'll filter it by running services. Whatever we
Okay.
started, we'll complete that. So we need to
Status.
see if the status is running or not.
Okay, is equal to equal.
Yeah. Hmm.
Uh, it's curly brackets again.
No, now, curly brackets is to encompass your entire filter. So your filter is you're comparing status, that is the property. So you called it with dollar underscore dot and equal to running. Yeah, instead of, yeah, the same thing, but it's a string. So you have to uh, type it between, yeah, quotes, single quotes.
No single quotes. Okay.
If it's integer, you can just type it out. But since it's a string that you're comparing, you can do, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now run it. So basically, it'll just give you all the services that it's running. One sec. Should have given you something. Just give me a sec. Status equals. Okay, no problem. I see the issue here. The running, there's a typo. You have to use two ends there. Just hit up arrow again and then change running. Yeah.
Oh,
No. Just hit up arrow again. Yeah. Yep. See this? So these
okay.
are all the services that are running, but you need just 5. So here you can, no problem, you can list just the 5 after you run the command. Just hit up arrow again and then add a pipe. Like I said, you can have multiple pipes. Yeah. So add a new pipe. Yeah. And then you need to get 5 services. So see if you're able to recall what we did to just select.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Select check first 5.
Yeah, almost. The syntax is a little wonky, but you got it almost right there. Select hyphen object, not select underscore object. Yep, yep. You see
Okay.
that yeah. And then the first will be a switch, and switches you usually define with hyphen, and then the switch. Yeah, so it will be hyphen and then first. It's a switch for the commandlet select hyphen object. Yeah, yep. You see that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have doubts,
Yes.
just type around until it should suggest you. So that's what the ID
Okay.
is for. That's why I suggest you do this. Just type it out and see if it's throwing you something. And if not, we go from there. Just hit enter now. Yeah. So basically it will give you about 5 services. And then remember we just need the service status and name. So try and yeah.
Yeah. So we need a
Mhm.
okay. Mm-hmm. Running. Okay. So we can add pipeline. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Status. We can add over here
Yeah,
with
you can just add
status
out over.
running and comma.
No, not there, not there. It backspace. So that is the filter. So let me walk you through it. Get hyphen service, the one before the first pipe gets you all the services. The second pipe, where if an object where the status is equal to running, that's a filter. It'll get all the
Mm-hmm.
services and then filter them by their status where it matches the string running. So basically all the services that's running, and then select
Let
hyphen object hyphen first 5. It basically just gets you the first 5 services, and then now you need to select specific properties. To do that, yeah, you were
okay.
right. Select as an object. There's a typo, that's why it's not giving you the yeah, the suggestion. Go backspace and do select
Mm-hmm.
type an object. uh There's a typo there.
Oh, select
hyphen object.
object
And now you need
mm,
about two properties,
name.
name and then the status. So it should be comma. So different properties you separated by comma. Yeah. Status.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it. Enter. That's how you got it. You see this? Now the orders define change. Just increase the size of the command line there. The blue section. Uh, Go to the top. Try and increase the size of it. With the blue section.
Blue section. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. So scroll a little up within the blue section. Yeah. So if you see for the two runs, for the two commands, command lines, you see the order and the number of properties, member properties that are present there. So if you see on the first line, it says status, the name, and then the display name. But in the second run, where we selected just the name and status, it
The
gave us
status
the
gave us
same order,
the same order.
the name and the status, like how we defined it. That's a key difference. So
Key
if you
difference.
want to
So if
change
you
the
want
order, just then change the order and select if an object, and it should give you in whatever order you specified. Okay.
okay, so
Mhm.
if I want to get the no, okay. So I need to add new pipeline.
No, no, no. You don't have to add. I'm just stating the differences between the two runs. On the first run, we got the first five objects, and the order of the properties was status. It gave us the status of the service, the name of the service, and the display name of the service. But when we used select if an object and then define the properties that we wanted, the name and the status, it gave us in that order, the name and then the status. If you're able to see the blue screen there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah. See, it's changing. So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
that's how you define how you need to get and things and how to handle things and stuff like that. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. So that's it for the day. We
Okay. Yeah, that's great actually. No, I don't have any question right now for you.
okay, Cindy.
Thank you so much.
Oh, okay then, Cindy. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.